What's going on, beautiful people? Daniel Mediar in the building. And today we're going to talk about the beautiful love. What is it? Is it something spiritual that we all seen in the fairy tales? Is it something out of a movie? The beautiful scene where a man is chasing a woman for 9 years and she's been rejecting him, and then he brought 300 flowers and then she said yes, and then they had a beautiful family somewhere in Utah with the white fence and two dogs and dogs chasing children in a backyard. Or is it the chemical response to the hormones that our brain produces in the presence of a new partner? And why do we feel such an intense love in the beginning and then it fades away? What's the problem? When I'm in love, I should be in love constantly, right? Why do I feel less in love as the time goes? What is the difference? How does the brain respond? And what drives these differences? We're going to discuss into today's video. And by the end of this video, you're going to completely understand what is love, how does it operate, and what is it driven by. Before I start, of course, you can find my services at dmprotrainer.com. You can join my 1, 3, and a 6-month coaching program where I focus on fitness, human relationships, and finances. And you can also book a single consultation if you have a problem you want to discuss in these 3 aspects as I mentioned. Also, if you want to order my book that is called Weight Loss Without Plateau, you can find it on Amazon, where I describe the human metabolism in detail. Also, I describe my calorie cycling methods that I used upon thousands of people successfully, and people reduced weight, maintained low weight. If you guys are looking to order beef, that's a really high quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef produced in Utah and Texas, you can place your order at dmbeef.com. Okay? Now, by that being said, let's get into today's topic. What is love? First of all, if you want to understand love and a human connection, you need to understand dopamine and oxytocin, because we're going to talk about these hormones a lot. These 2 hormones are driving the feelings, and as these hormones are adjusting in your body, you feel different way. That's why sometimes you feel more in love, sometimes you feel out of love, okay? So, step number 1, primary neurochemical driver. Early dating is dominated by dopamine, the brain's reward and motivation neurotransmitter. 0 to 9 months, you get a massive dopamine hit from meeting a new person. Huge dopamine hits only get produced when you meet a new partner. The brain only responds in a romantic relationship to novelty with a huge dopamine hit, okay? So you can't possibly produce large amounts of dopamine with the partner you've been with for the past 15 years. That's neurochemically impossible. It's just not going to happen. So what does dopamine do when it's in the high amounts, when you meet a new partner? It increases the sexuality, excitement. It puts pink sunglasses on your eyes. Everything is beautiful. This is exactly what you wanted. You ignore the red flags. You ignore everything. You just want the idea of relationship that you have been working on for so long when you've been single to come to reality. So here, you really are falling in love with the idea of what the relationship actually is, instead of analyzing the person that you've chosen to get into the relationship with, okay? Because people fantasize, especially the longer they are alone, the more they fantasize, and they sell themselves onto the idea of what a human relationship is. And they want this idea they produced in their minds to come to reality. So when they meet a new partner, they get all excited that with this new partner, their idea is going to come true. However, that's the fantasy. It doesn't work like that. The other partner might be bringing traumas from the past, might be controlling, might be abusing, might be really kind, might over-communicate interest, which is going to turn women off, etc. It might come with thousands of different challenges, but people always prioritize their own idea. In a high dopamine phase, you're going to ignore the red flags, and you're going to let people cross your boundaries, and you also are going to overdo things for your partner. You're going to go way out of your way to make people feel comfortable around you, And you're gonna act like you normally don't act, just so you can please everybody and prove yourself to this new partner. Also, sexuality is really, really high. And we're gonna get to that why. Because dopamine plays a special role in the early stages of dating, and there's a reason why it increases the sexuality. Now, in a long-term relationship, long-term relationships rely more on oxytocin, a neuropeptide linked to bonding, trust, and attachment. That's all beautiful, but the problem with the oxytocin is that it's boring. You don't really feel the same excitement, the same sexuality, the same tension, the same connection, the same vibration between the two. That crazy dynamic that is magnetic. You don't feel that in a phase of oxytocin, which is replaced by dopamine after 9 months of being with the same partner. Okay? So oxytocin, that's the hormone of bonding. Now, the strongest oxytocin is from a mother to her child. You will never see a mother come into the school, pick up her child, and today she's going to look at the crowd of children and she's going to tell the teacher, you know what, today just give me the Chinese kid. You know, I'm full of, I don't really want to see my kid today. I'm going to take the Chinese home. That's not going to happen. Why? Because she's bonded strongly through oxytocin to her own child. How is that possible that from 20 different humans that are running around at the same age, she's going to choose her own child because she's bonded to this child through oxytocin? That's the strongest bond. Now, oxytocin is also bond in romantic partners. Not in the same way, in the same strength, but it is definitely strong. Oxytocin, however, that's your average Tuesday night and in the bed watching Netflix with your spouse. There's really not much excitement, not much horniness, not much, how would I say it, crazy magnetic tension between the two. Emotional experience, dopamine produces excitement, novelty, and anticipation. Also magnetic tension and sexuality. Oxytocin produces calm, security, and emotional warmth. That's what you're feeling after the 9 months. Of course, if the masculine and feminine polarity is set up properly. So in the dopamine phase from 0 to 9 months, the excitement of the novelty is what people feel. Now, where people really fall on their faces is they think this is the love. They think this is how love is actually meant to be, which is absolute nonsense. And that's why I talk to people worldwide, and I get people after 10 years of marriage who tell me I don't feel it anymore. It's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be in the beginning. Well, that's biologically impossible. So then people get divorced and then find a new partner. Then they get super excited. This is exactly what I wanted. And after 9 months, it's just another idiot who leaves dirty dishes in the sink. And they don't understand what's going on. So they end up chasing this dopamine and this novelty, so they just keep switching partners over and over and over because they're falsely believe that early stages of the dating is what love actually is. It's impossible to maintain this feeling long term. Neurologically, your biochemistry of your body doesn't allow that. Your brain will get used to the partner and your dopamine will naturally get back into the baseline. It will be replaced by the oxytocin. So that's when people actually replace the stability and the security of life for the dopamine excitement, crazy magnetic tension and sexuality with the new partner. And that's why people cheat often as well, because they haven't experienced this dopamine in a really long term. So you really need to understand what's going on with your brain when you're in a relationship, so you don't make mistakes. Motivational mechanism, dopamine pushes people to seek reward and pursue the partner, reinforcing attraction. Dopamine makes you try really, really hard. You really want this to work. You want the attraction to be high. You want the sexuality to be high. You're going to go out of your way to please your partner. You're going to be always available. You're going to make anything happen so your idea that you have been fantasizing about when you were single comes to reality. Now, the oxytocin promotes staying and maintaining connection, reinforcing attachment. You see, there's this difference that it promotes the staying and maintaining connection. Just being together, hearing and understanding the woman, also seducing her, taking her out on a date. A woman is bringing her feminine energy. She is caring, she's communicating, she's building bonds, she's communicating her emotions. All of these feminine qualities, okay? So this is a major difference, because in the oxytocin phase, there's not this crazy excitement. Behavioral pattern: dopamine drives stages include intense focus, idealization, and risk-taking. This is very important, because when you're in the high phases of dopamine, what you've been fantasizing about, what the relationship actually is, makes you take more risk. So you ignore the red flags because you want your idea of relationship to work out. So you take a risk. This only happens in a dopamine phase. You're pretty much stupid. That's what's happening. You lost logical and rational thinking, and you're taking risks and ignoring the red flags, even when the person is showing the red flags, because a person can wear a mask for about 90 days. After the 90 days, the mask comes off, and a person will really start showing who they are. And that's when they actually show you all the red flags. But it is still within that strong phase of dopamine where you want your idea of relationship to work out, and you convince yourself that this person probably didn't mean it that way, they're not really like that, you forgive them, you move on, just so the idea of the relationship that you think the relationship is, or that you want to experience, comes to reality. Now, oxytocin-driven stages emphasizes caregiving, cooperation, and emotional safety. That's the long-term cooperation, okay? That's the partnership. That's where people become really good partners, really good friends, but there's really not that much magnetic tension. That magnetic tension, again, and one thing that you really want to take away from this video is that it's impossible to maintain for 20 years. It's just biologically impossible. Your brain is not wired to be that high on dopamine with the same partner over and over and over. You constantly have to change partners after 9 months. Neural reward versus bonding. Dopamine activates the misaligned reward pathway, virtual tegmental area nucleus accumbens. That's part of the brain. Oxytocin acts strongly in bonding and social memory circuits, including other parts of the brain, okay? So now we can see that how dopamine and oxytocin activates different parts of your brain. One part of your brain is really high and excited, and also what dopamine is supposed to do in the early stages of dating is to make you reproduce as quickly as possible so the human race can be preserved on this earth. That's what has been happening for millions of years during the evolution. Man was spreading seed everywhere possible with the hottest woman ever. Why the hottest woman? Because man is visual, and when he sees a beautiful woman, he sees that this woman is healthy and can reproduce safely. And she can produce and give a birth to healthy children. That's why man is visual. Man is judging a woman so he can make sure that his children will be beautiful and healthy, okay? That's why a obese woman who has tons of health issues and health concerns is not that attractive to men, because subconsciously she's communicating it is not safe to reproduce with her. The children might be ill. The children might not be beautiful. The children might, get some genetic problems that she already has. So the man always chooses the best looking women to reproduce with. Dopamine is forcing you to get it done as quickly as possible so the human race will be preserved on Earth. That's why people in the early stages of beginning have the most sex. A woman is triggered by the dopamine and driven by the dopamine so she can receive the DNA of the man, and the man is forced to give this DNA to as many women as possible, okay? That's why men often cheat, and they cheat a lot more than women. Women can stay a lot more loyal than men. Men are forced by dopamine and they really want to spread the seed all over the place. This is pretty much how it worked during the evolution. It is primal, it is animalistic. Now, time dynamics. Dopamine peaks in the early romantic phase, often lasting 9 months, and that's it. Okay, 0 to 9 months, dopamine is really the strongest. Now, oxytocin increases with shared experiences, physical touch, and long-term intimacy after 9 months. But it's not as exciting. Again, dopamine is not love. It's just a chemical response of your brain to meeting a new partner. Now, relationship function, dopamine helps start relationships by creating attraction and pursuit, and also motivates humans to reproduce. You see what I mean? This is exactly what I mean by dopamine when it's produced by your new romantic partner. It is forcing you to reproduce as quickly as possible so you as a race can survive. Oxytocin helps sustain relationships by stabilizing trust, attachment, and emotional partnership. Create a family. Bond the family together. Stay together. Unity. This is oxytocin. But in the phase of oxytocin, again, it's not as crazy, magnetic, sexual, I can't get my hands off of you as in the dopamine phase. And this is the two phases of relationship everybody's going to experience. And you really need to understand the difference, because then you're going to sell yourself on the fake idea that you don't love your partner anymore, where you're actually going through a natural biochemical process of your brain. The problem is, if you don't understand it, you're going to be replacing partners over and over and over, thinking that you're looking for love. And every new partner will get you excited, and every new partner will make you feel like this is it, this is what I've been looking for. And after 9 months, these feelings are gone. This is how love operates.